Hi everyone, A&P Adventures here.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Patrick.
And we're so happy you're with us today when we're going to show off Fort Tryon Park.
Yes.
So we're in the very northern tip of Manhattan.
That's right. We took the A train to get all the way up here to this section of town. We didn't even need a passport.
No. And this beautiful park is going to have some gorgeous views of the Hudson River. We're going to go through a beautiful garden, and we're going to end at the Cloisters.
Yeah.
Don't know what that is? Well, then stay tuned. Here we go.
Let's go.
All right, so we're entering right here at the main entrance. It's named after Margaret Corbin. It's called the Margaret Corbin Circle and the Margaret Corbin Drive, and they named it after this defender of northern Manhattan in a battle against the British troops. So when Corbin's husband John Corbin fell during battle, Margaret took control of her husband's cannon, and her cannon was one of the last cannons to fire during that battle. She became the first woman to receive a military pension. In the early 1900s, a monument was erected in her honor, and they named this area after her, this main entrance. And speaking of main entrance, look at this. The azaleas are in full bloom.
Exploding right now, yeah.
I mean, azalea. It's just beautiful. All right, so we're starting right away here in the Heather Garden. In 1983, Fort Tryon Park was designated an official city landmark, and a plan was developed the following year to fully renovate the park, and this garden was one of the first projects slated for renovation. This had become quite overgrown by the 1980s, and thanks to a bunch of volunteers, the Greenacre Foundation, the Parks Department, they completed a 3-year restoration of the garden, and it reopened with these long-lost views of the Hudson and the Palisades in 1988. Now, this is a 3-acre garden, and it boasts over 600 varieties of plants, trees, and shrubs, providing year-round horticultural interest. And it's named the Heather Garden because it includes over 50 varieties of heath and heather. And it's May 2023, May 12th, exact, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And I neglected to say it is, what did I say, 84
yeah.
degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is about 27, 28 degrees
And
Celsius.
so because it's May, you see we have lots of azaleas in bloom. We have some sage. We'll see some smoke bush along the way. Poppies, azaleas. Oh, I already said azaleas. And the hostas are popping up like crazy.
They're worth mentioning twice because they're so pretty.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many hostas. You might say it's a hosta takeover. We'll start to see some elephant ears pop up. We're sort of after tulip time, but you will see a lot of tulips in this garden earlier in the season. Now, this whole park, let's talk about the history of it. It actually was originally inhabited by the local Lenape tribe, the Wequassagik tribe, and they lived in this area until the early 17th century. This would have been a very densely forested high ground, still high ground though, at the northern end of Manhattan. It was called Langburg or Long Hill to the early Dutch colonists. And then the Continental Army put a series of strategic posts along the Hudson River called Fort Washington. That was during the summer of 1776, until Hessian mercenaries fighting for the British forced the troops to retreat. And the British then renamed the area for Sir William Tryon. So that's where we get the name Tryon Park from. He was a major general and the last British governor of colonial New York. And it was during that attack that Margaret Corbin, who we were just talking about, for whom the park's drive and circle was named, took control of her fallen husband's cannon and was wounded during the clash. 1977 is when the city council named that drive after her. And then during the 19th century, we saw in this area wealthy New Yorkers would build elegant estates around the Fort Tryon area. The most notable was the house of Cornelius K.G. Billings. Look at those azaleas.
Yeah,
My goodness.
They're just exploding.
Pausing
right
on Mr. Billings' mansion to take note of these beautiful azaleas. That color is just exquisite. So he was a wealthy horseman from Chicago, and from 1901 to 1905, Billings reportedly spent more than $2 million building his Tryon Hall mansion. 1917, John D. Rockefeller Jr. bought the Billings Mansion and began developing the property. Sadly, the mansion burned to the ground in 1925, but we still have a few remnants left on the property. We're getting hit by the sprinklers.
Luckily, they're really taking good care of this garden,
Yeah.
and keeping it hydrated, but we're getting sprayed by the sprinklers every time it goes around.
Yeah, so we have a few remnants left of the Billings Mansion still on the property. So if you come to Fort Tryon Park, make sure you check out those remnants still here. So John D. Rockefeller began acquiring private parcels of the land in 1917, and the whole idea was to create this beautiful outdoor piece of art and to be a gift to the city so that New Yorkers could come and enjoy the gardens up here and these unparalleled views of Manhattan and the Palisades beyond as well. He even purchased land on the New Jersey side of the Hudson River, now known as Palisades State Park, to preserve the stunning views up here at Fort Tryon Park.
Isn't that amazing to be able to have the wealth, enough wealth to, just because for a nice view across the river? I love that so much.
And the wealth to acquire all that and just say, I'm going to gift it to the public.
Yeah,
I mean,
love it.
that's truly remarkable. He enlisted the Olmsted Brothers firm. I know, Olmsted, that's right. You might know that name from Olmsted and Vox, two of our two Central Park designers. But this was actually Olmsted's son, Frederick Law Olmsted Jr., and his brother. And he enlisted them to start planning the park. They designed the park and oversaw its construction between 1931 and 1935, at which point in time he gifted it to the city of New York. So now we're here at the Linden Terrace, and you'll see a couple plaques indicating such as we make our way in here. This is named the David Rockefeller Linden Terrace. It is located on the site of Fort Tryon and Tryon Hill. And we're 268 feet or 82 meters above sea level, the highest location in Fort Tryon Park. Also the highest landscape feature on Manhattan, measured distance between ground level and sea level, but not the island's highest natural point. That's located within Bennett Park, a few blocks south of here. So in the early 21st century, this terrace was named after John D. Rockefeller Jr.'s last surviving child, David, who had donated $1 million towards the park. And the main portion contains this terraced seating area with elms all around it. Look at these views of the Hudson River. Goodness, just gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to make our way up here to the flagstaff as well. So here is the flagpole terrace, complete with the flagstaff with a granite and bronze pedestal. Again, the original one was toppled in Hurricane Sandy 2012, so this is a replica. But you get incredible views up here of Manhattan and the Bronx. And if you were to go just behind the Linden Terrace, you'll see this beautiful little stone cottage. This is the New Leaf Restaurant. It's closed right now, but I think about to reopen again this summer of 2023. A cool fun fact about this, there's an organization known as the New York Restoration Project that Bette Midler spearheads that helps restore parks in New York City and structures in parks. And this is one of the things that her organization helped restore, the New Leaf Restaurant. So if you need a bite to eat while you're in Fort Tryon, come here.
Come to the New Leaf.
Also up here at Fort Tryon Park, we have Manhattan's largest dog run, complete with a gazebo and picnic tables for the dog owners to sit and socialize. There's also a separate dog run for the smaller dogs so they can feel, a little special,
Yeah.
a little separate, which is nice. It's named Sir William Dog Run after Sir William Tryon, his namesake of the park. So that's Linden Terrace there at the top of that hill. Leaving from that area, you pass through a little lawn, and then you can pick either side to go. We went over to the dog run and to show off the New Leaf restaurant, but you could also veer off to the other way to get views of the Hudson River. Now, the Hudson River is one of the highlights of this park because it is always in view as you're enjoying this park, as well as the Palisades across the river. Now, the Hudson River is 315 miles long, or 507 kilometers. It flows from north to south primarily through eastern New York, and it's named after Henry Hudson, an Englishman sailing for the Dutch East India Company who explored it in 1609. That's a little snippet of the George Washington Bridge there you're seeing in the background. Hudson River's significance skyrocketed when the Erie Canal was completed in 1825, because then what we could see shipping. Those landlocked states were now opened up to a whole new world of shipping. So let's make our way up to the Cloisters. And as we make our way up there, I'll talk a little bit about the Fort Tryon Park attractions. It's 67 acres of parkland. Not porkland. I guess you could have some pork while you're picnicking here. Parkland are 27 hectares, 8 miles or 13 kilometers of pathways for jogging, walking, hiking, lawns for picnicking and other recreation. 2 playgrounds, volleyball courts, built-in ping pong tables. Of course, we showed you the dog run. There's so much to do here in Fort Tryon Park. They also have a medieval festival every September with costume vendors, authentic music, themed food and drink, and arts and crafts. Of course, the pristine views of Hudson River that we just showed off. The Heather Garden that we went through. It's really, there's so much to enjoy in this park. It's taken care of by the Fort Tryon Park Trust. They are a nonprofit partner that collaborates with New York City Parks, and they provide supplemental staff for the park's upkeep and provide over 250 free public programs in the park, as well as funds targeted for the park improvements. So Fort Tryon Park is also home to the Cloisters. Cloisters opened in the north end of Fort Tryon Park in 1938 after Rockefeller bought sculptor George Gray Barnard's collection of medieval art. And it's inspired by Romanesque monasteries. The museum includes several cloisters or courtyards from actual French monasteries. The 4 cloisters, and I will butcher their names, are the Coucha, Saint Guilhem, the Bonfont, and the Tryon. They were all acquired by American sculptor and art dealer George Gray Barnard in France before 1913 and then moved to New York. And then, like I said, John D. Rockefeller purchased Barnard's collection. It's now a branch of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Closed on Wednesdays, by the way. So if you come up here on a Wednesday, you won't get to go inside, but you can still check out the grounds. Now, the overall design was by architect Charles Collins on this steep hill with little upper and lower levels as you go throughout. It has medieval gardens, a series of chapels, and themed galleries. And it was designated an official New York City landmark in 1974. So let's check out the grounds, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
All right, there you go, the Cloisters.
Yeah, in Fort Tryon Park.
Such a beautiful part of Manhattan. You know, you would never know in the hustle and bustle of the city of Manhattan. You come just a few miles north and you're in this secluded, peaceful, really cool, beautiful place.
Listen, if you liked this video, check out our other videos on our page. We do all of Central Park. We do all of Manhattan, for
That's
crying
true.
out loud, and beyond. But give us a like, subscribe to us, and click that bell to get some notifications. Maybe leave a comment letting us know if you liked something or
Yeah.
if you didn't like something. I
Yeah.
hope you liked something.
We hope you liked it.
Yeah.
And of course, let us know if there's any other places in Manhattan that we haven't gone, or New York City. Then, you know, we'll try to check it off your list and ours.
Yeah. Again, thanks for joining us. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Patrick, and we are AMP Adventures.
We'll see you later.
Bye.